Biovac is one of our proudest entities that the department helped to re-establish around 2003. And we continue to hold 47% on behalf of the state, of course. And it's part of our health innovation program, which is critical because our major focus is to make sure that Africa, not just South Africa, Africa has sovereignty in respect of health. You know, we're working hard to build vaccine and drug manufacturing capabilities. We're committed. Research and development is vitally important in terms of our work, and skills development. South Africa is ranked amongst the top countries in the world in terms of health research. And that has been proven through a number of instances where we were able to help the world to respond to emergencies, whether it's COVID or recently the hantavirus.
On that, does the hantavirus, as far as you know, pose any immediate threat, or is there a focus to look to that specifically from a...
Well, the experts have said it's not necessarily posing a major threat, but there is a strain that they are busy looking into. And of course, one or two incidents where they've realized the transmission from one human to another. It's part of what scientists are now looking into. But certainly they have said that there is no imminent outbreak that should be worrying us at the moment. But nevertheless, we remain vigilant and we remain committed to understand it much more better so that we prepare the world to respond appropriately.
Yeah, so I think as Biovac, we've made a few announcements in the past month. And most of those announcements we were overseas when we were signing up with our lenders. Today is a historic moment because now back home we can be able to demonstrate, to the delegates that are here, the ecosystem and the support that the fundraising that we've been doing has now been concluded, and then we're starting construction. We do have a site not too far from where our site is, where we're going to be expanding our capability. And that capability, essentially, we're going to be tripling the capacity that we currently have, which is quite important for South Africa and for the continent.
Just when we talk financing, you spoke about it during your main address as well, but what are we looking at in terms of cost for the entire project?
So the fundraising that we're doing in dollars is $180 million. So that's just about 3 billion rand that we're fundraising. It's a lot of money because vaccines is very capital intensive. We need the most modern equipment, and we need to make sure that the scale is sufficient for the future. So that's the amount of money that we are concluding now with the funders and stakeholders that have fortunately been with us today.
Just the importance of this production facility to boost health security in line with what the health department's objectives are in their various programs that they have.
So I think less than 1% of vaccines are being produced on the continent still today. During COVID, that statistic was still there. Now, why is that the case? The case that it hasn't yet moved because the capacity is still being expanded, but the aim is to make sure that the continent moves from less than 1% of vaccines being manufactured to get to at least about 10% in the next few years. But ultimately, the continent is aiming for 60% of vaccines to be manufactured here. Biovac is looking to contribute to that capability. So as an example, as we said today, Biovac can do 15 million vials. With a new capacity, we are looking to triple that to 50. And so that's the type of contribution that we are aiming to do as a company.
50 per month? Annual?
Oh, it's annual. Yes, so it's an annual capacity.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Morena, just can you maybe give us an update on the progress so far with the cholera trials? Because that started in November, right? So just where are we at with those trials? Just give us maybe an update on that. And then also with this new funding and building capacity, is that also going to be boosted going forward?
So we've been developing an oral cholera vaccine, and that funding was concluded a while ago to the tune of about 700 million rand. So that project is quite active. We've been able to develop the vaccine. We've launched a clinical trial in November 2025, and I'm very pleased to say that the trial is going extremely well. We are now in phase 3 of the trial, so we've undergone the phase 1 of safety, and the product has been shown to be safe. And we're now in phase 3 with a view that by next year, this time we would have concluded the trial and preparing for licensure.
Well, I think firstly it is demonstration of the achievement of a vision to create vaccine and pharmaceutical sovereignty for South Africa and Africa. The fact that we're able to now produce end-to-end vaccines in South Africa, I think is a demonstration of that progress that we're making. Certainly we're at early stages. We do anticipate that Biovac would increase its capability and capacity. We're partnering with them through the Industrial Development Corporation, but also other international partners on the continent and internationally that have come to the party to ensure that this investment is achieved and that we're able to achieve that objective of local manufacturing of vaccines, but also in terms of research and development happening locally, understanding the pathogens locally, the challenges that we're dealing with locally, and finding solutions for those, I think, is important.
Minister, also just the importance of linking health innovation and technology to jobs, a critical issue in the country, but that you kind of pair the two, where you develop on the scientific front, but you also create a space for job opportunities.
And these are certainly high-end jobs that we're talking about. These are researchers, these are chemists, these are engineers that participate in the research and development processes of vaccines, of pharmaceutical products. And I think it's important for the growth of the South African economy. We have prioritized the pharmaceutical sector as an important focus area for the country, both in terms of ensuring that we're able to build capacity as a country. You would remember during COVID on what we call vaccine apartheid. The reality is that we on the African continent were last in the queue of available vaccines. But if we build our own capability, we can be able to resolve our problems ourselves as a country, of course partnering with the rest of the world. And I think that it is about that capability, but it's also about creating high-end quality jobs in the country.
Minister, this event takes place on Africa Day. Importance of development for the entire country. We know that many of our sister nations struggle when it comes to health infrastructure, in particular ourselves have our challenges. How important and significant is it to have it on a day where we look not only to South Africa, but to the region and the rest of the continent?
I think it is a celebration of what the leadership of Africa set out as a vision and direction. You'd remember when President Ramaphosa was chairing the African Union, driving the initiative of ensuring that we're able to build capability on the continent, that we're able to support local pharmaceutical companies to build that capability. And from then to here today, we can say that we're realizing that vision. We now have the capability, we now have the equipment to do that level of manufacturing, and of course, we now have end-to-end capacity. And that's demonstration of the ability of this continent to find solutions to its own health challenges. And I think that we should celebrate that, in fact, Africa is now building that capability, not only in South Africa, but also in other countries that are doing similar work.
Minister, just in closing, it's now slightly off the topic of being here, but
Really?
your discussions with counterparts on the African continent in particular, at a time when we see this anti-illegal immigration elements rearing its head here through marches in the country. Are you at all engaged with African nations that might have highlighted concern for that, or what from your side are you doing to allay their fears?
We continue to engage with many countries, of course, led by Minister Lamola. Over the weekend, he hosted foreign affairs ministers in the SADC region. I had the privilege of addressing that meeting and talking about where are the areas of economic cooperation, industrial cooperation, the ability to leverage our critical minerals and our mineral wealth into industrialization and economic development is important. And the idea that we're working on is how to leverage off each other and grow together on the African continent, but also how to ensure that trade happens on the African continent, that we build the infrastructure, the ports, the rail, the road capability, to ensure that this trade actually happens on the continent. So we continue to engage with our counterparts. The discussions are quite productive. And I think that, of course, we have to deal with the challenges that we are experiencing, but we also need to be vigilant against those that spread false information about what's happening in the country.